So there was some people in the forum complaining, Wendell. They said I should wear my jacket again. I am so overheating right now. How about a coffee? Microsoft, their new Edge browser is supposedly extremely fast. In Windows 10, they got the new browser and all that sort of thing. They're not using the Internet Explorer anymore because they have completely destroyed the name Internet Explorer. It has become the brunt of every joke on the internet. Well, not every joke on the internet. There's a few jokes on the internet, okay. So anyway, in a Windows blog here, Gabe Aul, you have to say his name like that. It's A-U-L. Gabe Aul. I wish he had more vowels in his last name, but it looks like he had a vowel movement. He only has two.
I didn't hear the last part of what you said, because when you said the Internet Explorer is the butt of every joke on the internet, the only thing that I could think of was Internet Explorer Rule 34, and then that was all over.
That's what we call Internet Exploder. Anyway, supposedly, this is driving me insane, this stupid earpiece thing. Anybody know of a good wireless one for under $1 million? I'll buy it. So, the WebKit is supposedly 112% faster than Chrome, and Google Octane Edge is 11% faster than Chrome, and Apple Jetstream is 37% faster than Chrome. So they put it up against Chrome in those three big categories. They tested it using, WebKit, SunSpider, and then Google and Apple stuff. So they didn't even test it using their own stuff. Now, these are internal tests, so that's all we know right now, because is anyone else out there doing the tests? Someone who has a developer build or the latest build of Windows 10, go and do those tests and see what you get. I'm curious because now, of course, Google, those guys, and the guys in the Chromium division are going to have to do something to make sure that Microsoft can't run around saying that their browser is way, way, way faster. Some people care about speed over anything else, so I don't know.
You got to take this kind of stuff with a grain of salt too, because it could very well be that we don't know what they've done, and so it's like, oh, it's really fast in the benchmark, but they could have implemented some of the stuff in the benchmark as random number. It's like return 2, and it's like, wait a minute, this random number function always says return 2. What the hell's going on there? That doesn't even make sense. So we don't know, but I will tell you, even if they're just 87% as fast as Chrome, that's something to be lauded, because when the Surface RT came out, it had a particular ARM processor in it that had showed up in Android tablets, and the SunSpider benchmark, for example, was 50% the speed of the same SunSpider benchmark on the same processor running Android. So clock for clock, all things being equal, the Surface RT running Internet Explorer running the SunSpider's benchmark versus Chrome on an Android tablet on basically the same hardware running the SunSpider benchmark, Internet Explorer was 50% as fast. And so if they've come this far, that's incredible. Now, of course, that's the ARM platform. They're not talking about ARM. ARM doesn't have anything to do with it right now. This is just, on x86. This is really good, and the team should be commended, and that's really great. But we need to make sure that it's also compatible, because I think that the compatibility thing is going to be the key. They're going to roll out Edge, and it's going to be rough around the edges, and then it's maybe not going to, work as well as WebKit or whatever. We don't know. We need to see it. So,
all right, just a quick mention. In Norway, now 1 in 3 vehicles sold is an electric vehicle. These guys are leading the world as far as electric vehicle purchases go. So it's pretty interesting to see that. I think they also they get some decent tax breaks and that sort of thing. The government is pushing the electric vehicles, whereas in other countries in the world, the governments are trying to stop the sale of electric vehicles because their cronies that have all the oil barrels will be in big trouble. So I think it's interesting to see.
Or the car dealerships. We have a problem with that, apparently.
No car dealerships. If you're selling electric cars, it must be a traditional dealership. So that's how they're getting around it now. They've got to have a traditional dealership where it's got to be like some ridiculous name like Tim Steffens or somebody like that. I don't know. What's the weirdest name you've ever seen on a car dealership? Like Bob Bupkus or something?
Pfluger Honda.
Pfluger? Got a cough up one about right now myself.
Pfluger, I barely knew
her. We got some funny methods in the South. All right, so how about this seaweed? This seaweed is going to lead into another article that I think is appropriate. And anyway, so in Newport, Oregon, the Hatfield Marine Science Center has they've applied for a patent on a new strain of red marine algae. And what they're trying to do here is create something that's really nutritious. It's sort of a different sort of genetic modification where you have like Monsanto and they're using their GMO stuff to, force people to buy their products, force people to buy their, their pesticides, and then sue anyone who's not using their products. They're doing something a little different. They're trying to make something that's extremely nutritious. I don't think there's any nefarious things going on here, but you never know. I mean, putting a patent on life is still a weird thing to me. Anyway, the bottom line of this article is that they have created a strain of seaweed that's twice as potent as kale when it comes to like nutritional value. And when you cook it, when you fry it up, tastes like bacon. And people have been trying this and they're like, holy crap, tastes so much like bacon. You can eat it dried, you can eat it raw, which is really interesting. But if you cook it, bacon. So that's pretty good. Close. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Let me tell you how things are going to go ecologically. Ecologically, we're not going to be able to produce meat. Everybody's going to live on plants for a while. And until we get Syndicate, meat will come back just as soon as we've got the Syndicate technology. For a while there, this is all we're going to have in the way of bacon because it's going to cost too much to raise pigs. And I wish that weren't true, but that's going to be true when we've got, 20 billion people on planet Earth.
And that's like coming up in the somewhat near future. I mean, not immediately, but the growth is exponential. So yeah. So I kind of want to go down and see what these guys are up to. If anyone knows any of these guys, it's pretty close to where we are up here in Washington State. I want to drive down there. I want to talk to them. I want to find out what they're doing. And then I want to sit down and have a seaweed, lettuce, and tomato sandwich and just see what we're dealing with. Or maybe I'll just have some seaweed and eggs or something. I don't know. We'll sit down and have... I know a few of the different restaurants in the Portland area are testing this on the menu and seeing how people like it. And it's also interesting because, there's a huge anti-GMO movement going on in the Portland area and also in most health conscientious hippie type communities or just modern communities. You know what I'm talking about, hipster communities, that sort of thing. There's usually an anti-GMO movement sometimes they don't even know the science behind it. They're just against it. And yes, I am against GMO, but in the sense of the way Monsanto's doing it, I'm not against the science. So this could be interesting. And I want to go there and talk to them and just see what they're trying to do and try it out, see what it's all about. Anyway. Yeah. That leads into our next article. Reddit. Because bacon...
Genetic manipulation?
Oh, no. Yeah, not because bacon, because genetic manipulation. Anyway, we talked a little bit about Reddit last week. They fired their CEO, Ellen Pao. And it turns out that the reason they fired the CEO is she kind of stepped down. They didn't fire her. She stepped down. She'll be there till the end of the year. She stepped down because the community had their torches and pitchforks. And it's kind of funny because now that she's gone, a lot of the things that people were fighting for, they wanted Reddit to be a community of totally free speech. They wanted to be able to go on there and they wanted to be able to establish hate groups and have them protected because free speech. They wanted to be able to basically do almost anything that is kind of legal. Well, it turns out that she was one of the people who was fighting on their side. And the board came to her continuously, not continuously, but several different times. And they were like, all right, we need to get rid of all the hate groups right now, all of them. They got to be gone. And she was like, no, we can't do that. She understood how the community would react to something like that. And sure enough, now that she's not there anymore, they are ready to cull all of their quote-unquote dark side communities. And that seems to be a direct result of her stepping down. So now how do you guys feel? Who are out there yelling and screaming about free speech and you wanting to get rid of her and calling her names and posting very nasty things on the website. So that's happened. And then we have the former CEO. This is kind of fun. I can't believe I opened up a Gawker article, but they posted his whole thing on here. So yeah, he basically exposed some company secrets, posted a full article about what's going on here, and he says exactly what I just said. And he ends the statement by saying that he thinks that Reddit may end up being a better place for it, but a lot of people are going to go over to vote. Or, yeah, vote is what it is. It's a weird name, always messes me up. So, I don't know, I guess we could... There's one more thing I want to mention before we move on. Let's remind you guys who Reddit is owned by. Reddit is not an independent little website. Reddit is not a bastion of free speech. Reddit is not a place that was created for you to go on the internet and do anything you wanted and feel safe. It's owned by Condé Nast, one of the largest publishing companies in America. They are owned by Condé Nast. So every time you go onto Reddit and think that you are supporting... I don't even know if people still think that anymore, but if people still treat it that way, they treat it like it's the anti-internet or the internet's underbelly that they can, use and get away with and do anything on. But it's owned by Condé Nast, guys. So just remember that when you're on there. So I guess my bottom line here is that Reddit is not a place where you can go and just do anything. Well, that's kind of 4chan or whatever. And our website's not either, guys. So just so you know.
My favorite thing from that was the quote where they were like, "Oh, we have never said that this would be a bastion of free speech, but rather as a place where open and honest discussion can happen." But then somebody dredged up a CNN interview where the exact quote was, "We really hope Reddit is a bastion of free speech," and it was like, "Whoops."
Wasn't that Alexis Ohanian?
Yeah, that was Alexis Ohanian, but
I think that his views on things have always been slightly different. I think he genuinely wanted that. He wanted to let it be and anything goes. I don't think he wanted to remove much of anything, and I don't want to put words into his mouth or anything like that, but I think he truly wanted that within, the bounds of what's legal. So, yeah.
I've got the unwashed masses of the internet. Perhaps I can leverage those to take over the world, is what's going through their mind. And it turns out the answer is no. The unwashed masses of the internet are fickle and quick to anger.
So the best solution is to sell to Condé Nast, make some money, and go on bus tours and stuff, It's cool. I met Ohanian on a bus tour. It was cool.
I'm honestly surprised that Moot did not sell to Condé Nast.
I don't know. Moot is like... I can't see him giving any cares about that. Like, I just can't see him. Like, I can see them showing up with the station wagon full of cash and him being like, "Okay, can we set it on fire? That'd be sweet." Yeah. Anyway.
He probably thinks he's being trolled. The troll there is no troll.
We looked at this. This is a robot hotel in Japan. We looked at this a while back, and the whole idea is that a lot of the staff is going to be roboticized. I don't even know if that's a word, but so there you've got you can check in. And the nice thing about having robots on staff, they say, is that the robots are always pleasant. They're always nice because they're not real. They'll do anything you want because they're not real. And you have the baggage claim cart that plays some stuff that sounds like really campy. I don't know, nice music. It sounds like K-pop to me, but it's probably the Japanese equivalent. And the funny thing that I wanted to show you guys here is now they have a little velociraptor there working as one of the bellhops. And yeah, he'll sit there and talk to you. So I think the most genius thing that they've done is add some dinosaurs and a lot, because you can go anywhere and you can talk to a human. You can talk to a humanoid anywhere, and there's an allure to that, being able to go to the first place that has humanoid robots, androids, if you will. They're not really fully capable androids, but and being able to talk to a humanoid that's somewhere in the uncanny valley, but being able to go and talk to a dinosaur or a panda bear or something like that, I think people would flock to places like that. So soon in America, we'll have resorts where all the staff will be just weird robot animals. But I think people would love that. I don't know if I would like it, but I think people would flock to see it. It'll be the big thing in the desert. Like they build a thing in the desert. You don't even have to have... What I'm saying is you don't even have to put it near a city. You can put it in a desert, and people would go to stay there. They would drive with their families and their... Well, I'm going on too long about this. Let's move on to the next thing. All right. Oh, yeah. T-shirts. We have lots of different colors now on the Your OS Sucks. We've showed that last week, though. The shirt of the month is doing decently well. So thank you guys for grabbing up the Beijing skyline right there. So yeah, there it is. Anyway, any other good stuff on the store? No, it's pretty much it. Everything else is garbage. Just look at all this terrible stuff. And we have a few more of these left. This is the Mayflower Electronics Objective 2 with ODAC combo. And it has our logo on top. It's pretty freaking sweet. We've got a few of those left. And a few of the back... We're getting low on the backpacks. I'm not sure if I'm going to order the backpacks again or not. I love these freaking things. So, yeah. If we sell out and people keep requesting them, maybe. But, yeah. Things are nice. Anyway, that's... go check out the store. It's epicpants.com. And there's a spider coming down from the ceiling right now. I don't care where you go. Just stay away from my coffee, buddy. I'm watching a spider right now. You should... I'll bring up the next article so you can talk about it, and then I'm going to deal with the spider. There we go. Oh, hacking team. Are you up on everything that's been going on with the hacking team?
This is the Italian company that, you know, has tools for doing things and all these zero-day exploits. And
yeah.
It's like, oh, it's just a treasure trove of insanity.
Yeah, they're... spider. They're up to some interesting things. They were just... It was really funny because they're hacking team. They're a group of hackers in Italy, and they are essentially working for governments. They're hackers for hire, but they usually work for the good guys, which usually goes against our interests. They've done lots and lots of work for government agencies, FBI agencies, and that sort of thing to help counteract encryption. HTTPS, they're trying to get around that. They've compromised the Tor network. And we've said that Tor is totally, just stay away from Tor. It's not good at all. Like, it's awful. We've mentioned it several times. And here they have yet another way to hack Tor. And what they do is they first infect the computer with malware. And then as soon as you jump onto Tor, they can do that by packaging it with the browser or packaging it with something else that you download. And then when you open up, basically what happens is it infects it messes with the Firefox that opens up with Tor, and then the first hop is to one of their servers instead of to, get away from me, spider. Go away. Stop. He's spitting webs. Get away from me. So that's where it goes first. And they have let me see if I can find the PowerPoint here. One of these links here is to the PowerPoint.
It's really not an especially sophisticated attack. From what I'm reading, from what I understand from the PowerPoint, it's really so they're basically attacking the ISP. So they're basically operating under the assumption that you as an individual will do some unencrypted stuff, not through Tor, through your local ISP, and that's how you can be targeted. And by doing that, they can get your computer to install a trusted root certificate. So
that's what there we go. Yes.
Well, the ad software that we talked about a while back, where it was like the Lenovo was installing the software that added, trusted third parties. A lot of computer manufacturers add trusted third parties to the Windows installation. So there's a whole bunch of stuff around that, and this is just they're looking at this and saying, how can we get a trusted CA certificate on this? And then once they've got a trusted certificate, then they can do man in the middle because, whatever the trusted certificate is, they can sign Gmail or Google or whatever against that. And then it doesn't really matter because they've taken over at that point. So it's sort of SSL man in the middle, but they have to identify you. And this is a little bit of work to actually do this. They won't be able to do this with the internet at large. But I guarantee if this becomes a significant enough problem for the intelligence community is going to install appliances at every major ISP. Because let's face it, in America, we've only got 4 ISPs left. So we're talking 4 boxes at strategic locations throughout the United States. Yeah,
oh, man.
So
these guys were hacked. Did we talk about the hack? I forget if we talked about it. I know that Kane and I talked about the hack quite a bit when it first happened. They were hacked severely. Their Twitter was hacked severely. And someone uploaded a 400 gigabyte file of all the company's emails. And there was some really messed up stuff in there. Even some stuff of them maybe possibly joking around about having, other hackers assassinated. And back and forth with officials. Stuff like that was in this 400 gigabyte dump. And we might have a copy of that, but also the EFF has a copy. So that's pretty interesting. And everyone's sifting through that right now. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. And these are this is what I would consider black hat hacking right here, because they are actively taking steps to make things less secure. in compromising SSL and encryption and that sort of thing.
One of the slides in
I
their
think it's very
presentation
dangerous.
seems to intimate that their command and control program is based on Ruby on Rails. So just stay away from Ruby, and that seems like that advice would work anywhere. I don't care for Ruby.
Well, so people in the comments are going to be yelling about us using Ruby on some stuff right now. Like right now, someone in the comments.
Hush.
I turned off my YouTube comments. It's the most wonderful thing I think I've ever done for myself. I found myself getting into petty, I don't want to say arguments, but someone would say something and I'd be like, I must fix this person and help them, and it didn't work. Yeah,
it turns out hell is other people.
And then I was like, oh shit, I look defensive. I don't mean to be defensive. I just mean to try to educate these people, but they don't listen. So I turned off my comments, and now I don't see anything.
I think Sarda was right. Hell really is other people.
It really is. Oh man, the funniest comment, and I forget who said this on Twitter, but I posted that I turned off my comments on Twitter, and they said that after they went to a video about a cotton factory and looked at the comments, then they turned off their comments too. So I commend you for doing so. Anyway, I still have comments on the website, and I'll still have comments. I guess I'll be getting them on my phone. I haven't figured out how to turn them off on my phone yet, but I've got an extension that's blocking them when I'm on my desktop. Anyway,
on my Google, it puts all that crap on the social tab, and I never click on that.
Oh really? Even when you're watching YouTube videos?
Yeah. I mean, there's comments at the bottom, but I don't read those. But
you don't have time.
When I'm doing other stuff, there's like a social tab to be like, there's messages and crap is happening, and it's like, I don't care. There's a social tab. Woo, 99 somethings. I don't care.
99. You have 99 somethings and some other stuff that you probably don't. Who cares? And yeah. So
99 crap floods on the wall. 99 crap floods on the wall. Delete one down. Something. That went.
Someone write that song, please. I want to hear it. I just want to quickly show you guys this. This is just for the people in America. Democracy.io is a new website by the guys from the EFF, and it allows you to easily go in and find who your Congress critter and your senator are. So just go in there if you never, and then you can write them about stuff. You go in there and it lets you know who they are and it lets you write them. And right now it's very basic. You can just write them. But the idea for the future is that, you can go on there and you can write them. And then the EFF will keep a track. What am I, Italian? They will keep a track. Keep a track of your activity. They will keep track of which people in the government, which congressman, which senator responds, and they will also keep track of the quality of their responses. So if you ask them like, do you like red or do you like blue? And they write back and they're like, red and blue are both good colors. Some days I wear a blue shirt. Other days I wear a red shirt. They are both good colors. And if they do something like that, they're going to get, they're going to get marks for not providing good responses, wishy-washy political BS response. I'm not sure how they're going to make that work as far as their algorithm or their engine goes, but that's what they're trying to build. And then you'll be able to see, oh, this senator really does respond and care. All right. Netflix. Hey, guess what they're doing? They're raising their prices. I think we said that the first time that Verizon was like, hey, can you give us some money? Now Netflix is finally going to raise their prices. So they're getting their customers ready for slight increases over the next year or so. In the coming years, they said, they're going to push carefully. They carefully push customers toward higher. How do you carefully push a customer towards a higher price? Is because it's always like a surprise, or is it like, hey, next month it's going to be 10 cents more. Do you go up like that? Or you just do like Comcast and be like, hey, $200 fee. What are you going to do? What you going to do? What you going to do? Huh? $200 fee. Nothing. You're not going to do anything. Do you want internet or not, basically? So, yeah.
I read this as two possible interpretations. And one is, maybe they're raising prices to deal with things. But the other is that maybe they're working on a tiered structure. And I actually wouldn't have a problem with a tiered structure if they're, doing premium content or, just like you have HBO and Showtime and whatever. If you have that as part of your Netflix subscription, maybe, if you have to pay $1 or $2 extra to get, the complete series of Star Trek, Yeah, maybe that could be entertained. It goes back to sort of kind of the a la carte model where you're actually picking this or that or the other thing. I don't know though. Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't work that way. I think part of this is also Netflix would really like to enter peering agreements with ISPs that make sense, because right now, at least, even though Netflix has got a vast catalog, that vast catalog can be deployed in the data centers of ISPs relatively inexpensively. That means the peering cost is essentially zero. And it may not be the entire Netflix catalog. It may be the most popular 75% or 50% of Netflix's catalog, but that's significant. That's a significant bandwidth reduction in terms of traffic to the internet. Not that traffic to the internet is a real problem. If it were a real problem, ISPs would be all about getting these free caching boxes. But since they're not, we know what the real motivation is. So we don't know if the pricing is going to be like a tiered structure where they have more different kinds of content, which is probably all right, or if they're just jacking up prices.
I feel like they could. I feel like they could do a lot of this stuff that you just mentioned without actually having to raise prices, if it weren't for a lot of the companies begging them for more money for using too much internet and that sort of thing. I think they might be able to. I mean, because they're making they right now. They are a profitable company, but they'll obviously make more profits if they do these things, and then also charge us a slight premium for better quality service, more options, and that sort of thing. So there's probably a little bit of both in there.
I'm not really sure that they're enjoying the same 97% profit margin that Time Warner is, though.
Yeah, they're paying a lot in royalties and licensing fees. Like, I'm sure they're paying some huge bucks for that, and then also the bandwidth and that sort of thing. They do have a lot of expenses. I can't believe they're still making $130 from the mail DVD thing, $130 million a month. I can't believe people does anyone have a DVD player? I don't have a DVD. I don't know what they look like.
What's a DVD?
It's kind of like a little laser disc. All right.
It's like an 8-track for videos.
All right. Let's take a look at this Intel news here. So now we've got to deal with Kaby Lake. Are you ready for some Kaby Lake? Who got to name that? Kaby Lake. So is everyone excited for the brand new 3rd generation 14 nanometer Kaby Lake? This is not a tick or a talk. The clock needs to be rewound at this point. So everyone's freaking out that Moore's Law is over. I don't know if that's necessarily the case just yet, because Intel's not they almost are the only company. So yeah, they had some issues with the 14 nanometer manufacturing process, mostly with heat, but a few other things as well. And they also, when they moved to 14 nanometer, they put everything on the die. So you had your voltage regulator and everything else, or your power control and everything else, PDME, whatever, all on the die. But now moving to this one, I felt like this one should have been slightly smoother, because the 14 nanometer is similar to what they're doing with 10 nanometer, just smaller, but they have delayed it until 2017. A new updated roadmap here. You see 2017 will be Cannon Lake, which is the new architecture. And now we've got Kaby Lake. So I guess it'll be iterations on a lot of the stuff that we've already seen before. See what they can do to make these faster, bump up the megahertz. I don't know.
What I expect it to be is Intel processors with all the heat of AMD. Because most of the heat from the AMD side of the world is because they haven't die shrunk. I mean, let's face it, the power and heat savings on Intel at this point, especially with Broadwell, are from having die shrunk but not really significantly changed the architecture. I mean, the iGPU is the only part of the CPU that has had really significant revisions. Other than that, the revisions have been around power consumption and reducing power utilization and that sort of thing. So I don't want to say this makes sense, but until AMD does a die shrink, not really a big deal. And this thing, as long as power delivery is not a problem, because Socket 2011 with 8 cores, that's why part of the reason why we went to Socket 2011-3 is because 8 cores and some of the higher end parts delivering that much power through that LGA socket was a real problem. So we need 2011-3 to sort of solve that problem. And even 2011-3 is really, there's still power delivery problems. I mean, you're not going to have a 250 watt processor in that socket. So the way that you reduce power is you do the die shrink. And if you can't do the die shrink, then you're going to have to find another way to deliver more power. So this tells me that this is going to be a real problem for enterprise class processors in terms of heat production, because if you're going to run 16 or 18 or 20 cores at a significant clock speed on these kinds of sockets, heat dissipation is now going to be a real problem because the die shrink option is not available to you. I mean, that's why AMD process, part of the reason why AMD's stuff is so hot is because they haven't shrunk their dies. I
wonder, I think we should let's just go 3D processor in one of those weird 3D sockets. Let's do it. Let's just go to it right now. I don't know. What are the other alternatives, I guess, because we're going to get to a point where in the next, 7-8 years where you get so, it's just not going to be able to get any smaller and make sense.
IBM's new process supposedly deals with this, and IBM said that in their article that it would be ready for mass production in about 2 years, and that is an approximately 10 nanometer process. And so that kind of coincides with this. It's a little more than 2 years, but maybe IBM will spur them on. Now, if PowerPC, like the Power architecture, ends up competing with Intel again, at that point, I don't know. It's like cats living with dogs. I don't even know what that will be. Will the Mac switch back from Intel to Power? Probably not, but it'd be fun to imagine.
Oh, I killed him.
That would be terrible.
Sorry, I just killed the spider. I mean, I didn't want to kill him, but he was. I'm sorry. He's on the back. He's on the back of this SanDisk Cruiser Fit 16 gigabyte flash drive, USB 2 and 3 compatible. Use it to kill your spiders. Cha-ching! Money in the bank. Got paid for that.
A USB 3 vehicle of spider death.
Got spiders? No problem. SanDisk is your answer.
It's got the bigger GBs.
What is it? It's a 16 gigabytes of spider gut smearing power. Let's take a look at, speaking of smearing guts, everybody. Boeing has a new laser. Could be a game changer for the U.S. soldiers. So they're saying, because this device only weighs about 650 pounds, it is tiny as far as, laser units go. Now, you can use it to mark things. You can use it to point at things, which is the same as marking them. But you can also use it for destruction. Well, that voice needs to go. So yeah, you carry this thing out in the field, and here's the thing. You can neutralize a target from up to, 20 kilometers away? Yeah, not bad. Or is it 20 miles? I've somewhere in there.
I like
22 miles. 22 miles away.
I like that these can be carried by hand. It's like the LWS breaks down into 4 parts, each transportable by 1 or 2 Marines. Boeing says these components include a battery, a water-cooled chiller, a commercially available fiber laser, an upgraded beam director weighing 40% less than a previous model. So what this tells me right here is rather than do a Kickstarter for a new office, we're going to do a Kickstarter for that commercially available fiber laser. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be vaporizing cows in Nebraska. It's going to be awesome.
Because screw cows in Nebraska. It will be raining hamburgers.
I mean, I would much rather have that than a Lamborghini. That would be amazing.
I know, all the other idiot CEOs will buy Lamborghinis and we can vaporize them.
Well, I wonder if in 50 or 60 years, like, people will be collecting these as collector items, because I know some people that have like the Browning machine gun from World War II, and it was basically the same deal. A couple of people carried the various components of the Browning, and then you'd take it apart and set it up, and then you could start taking out trees with ridiculous gunfire. And so in 50 years, it's like, oh, this is the antique LWS from Boeing, because it'll be the Browning legendary status, but it's some type of laser weapon. It's just, will that ever happen? My brain's like, no, that's probably not going to happen. So yeah.
Let's get to some science, shall we? So we found the Higgs boson not too long ago, and a little bit of time's gone by since then, and the LHC fired back up, and now they found something that they have been kind of looking for a while. I mean, not really looking for, but they've been speculating that something must exist. The pentaquark. Let me open it up here. So the pentaquark is not just
in the 1960s, but it was not proven to exist until analyzing the data from the LHC.
And it's not just one quark. And the other interesting bit here is that there's also an anti-quark in there. So you got a few different quark particles and then an anti-quark, and they all work together. They are the pentaquark with their powers combined. So I don't really know the implications of this. And we're going to be over in Switzerland in a few weeks. And I really want to go over to CERN and have someone talk way over my head for a little while, just so I can say I went to CERN and had someone talk way over my head for a little while. So if you guys know anybody at CERN, let me know. I really want to go over there and check this place out. That would be amazing.
We really ought to do that. I hate to confess this, but there have been a few science articles that I've read lately. This one is an actual good, real science article, but I've been really paranoid lately reading some of these science articles because I'll get to the end, and this is my fault for the type of website that I've been on. But at the end of the article, it's like, oh yeah, and this is not real because this is something that was made up as a PR thing for the new Fantastic Four movie, and it's like, what? No.
And that's why you don't go to Gawker anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, scientists are being paid to produce crap for, not real news sites. That's basically thinly veiled promotional material for movies that have pseudoscience. It's like, wow, that's a really neat guerrilla marketing campaign you have there, but no, that's just stop. Just no.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is very sad, but I mean, I met someone who had a PhD in physics recently, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? And they're like, making video games. And I was like, oh, that it? And they're like, doing some investing. But I was like, well, what about science? And they were like, yeah, I'm not a very good grant writer. And if you're not a good grant writer, you don't really have a job in science. And basically that was the answer, was like, yeah, there's really not really much money unless you're a special scientist or you're a good grant writer or you're a teacher, or a professor or something. And I was like, damn, that's really sad. And I was like, have you thought about creating fake science articles for Marvel? I never thought to tell him that. That would have been great.
One time I met Benoit Mandelbrot before he died, and his story about this was really funny. He's a super smart guy.
Is that his real name? I don't know Benoit Mandelbrot, but that's a good name.
Yeah, he's the guy that came up with fractals. And sort of mathematically, but his whole thing was his friend, who was also very smart, got a job with AT&T or Bell Labs or something, and was just a hard worker and was doing stuff for Bell Labs, but not like super crazy research and not inventing things. And Benoit struggled getting a job and finding something to do, and it's like, well, I have a job, but now I don't have any time to do science, and I really want to do science. And his story always stuck with me because he basically went to his friend and said, it's AT&T. I would be nothing but a rounding error. Just give me a job, put me in a closet, leave me alone, and I'll come up with something interesting. And so they finally did that, and he did, and he came up with fractals, and it's like, I need to be that guy. That would be a lot of fun. But I just thought that was a fun story that he had, because he's like, yeah, they left me alone, and then and then now I'm on the lecture circuit, and I'm doing all this fun, interesting things with fractals.
I wonder how many super geniuses out there that are way above my level of intelligence. I wonder how many of those guys are out there floating around working terrible jobs and just dying on the inside a little bit because those terrible jobs are consuming all of their brain. And then when they get home, they're just like, I just want to have a glass of wine and I want to read a book and then I'm going to go to bed. I wonder how many people there are like that who could make breakthroughs, but they're too busy working. That's sad. I just got really, really sad. We should find them and help them. We should find them, and then I'll live in the basement and let them live in the living room. I don't know what to do. I got a big heart for that kind of stuff, Let's just move to the moon, shall we? So, the new director of the European Space Agency, Johann Dietrich Worin. I don't know how you say his last name. German last name, of course. I'll better learn because I'll be in Cologne and Munich next couple weeks. But so I better learn a few things. Anyway, he says that we should be building a village on the moon, and a lot of the reasons behind this are because we need to get together. He's like, look what happens when we get together and do something. This doesn't need to be like the American space station or das German space station. It doesn't need to be that. It needs to be a global thing where we all get together and we build a research community. It doesn't need, what was the quote from him? We should look for, there it is. A moon village shouldn't just mean some houses, a church, and a town hall. We probably don't need any church on the moon. Unless that's where God lives. Is the moon considered heaven? I don't know. Anyway, he wants the moon village to be, partners from all over the world. Some robots out there 3D printing and building things. So that's his idea. It's the next step after the space station, and he thinks we should build there on the dark side of the moon before we go and build on Mars and that sort of thing. Because, let's face it, if there's an emergency, the moon is like 4 days away. And how far away is Mars? I think they said in the article here, like 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, I don't know. It's several months away versus being 4 days away. And once we finish our teleporter, then it won't matter anymore. We'll still work on that.
I like the idea of this just because it's that whole anything, depending on what position you guys are in, anything that you guys can do to turn the military industrial complex into a spacefaring industrial complex, that would be a good thing to do because the military industrial complex is not going away. So let's turn it around and have it not focus on delivering oil and receiving freedom or vice versa, depending on how you look at it, and going to the moon instead. Lasers. I mean, like the moon oil or space oil or something. I don't know. Look
how many. Okay, the billions of dollars they put into the new F whatever jet fighter. Imagine if they took just the money that they used to develop that one stupid jet fighter and put it into the space program. We would be colonizing Europa right now. I bet if we just took some of the money we used to make these airplanes that blow each other up. They do really cool things, loop-de-loops and stuff.
It was the space probe. So like the thing that goes with that is the space probe to Pluto costs less than the new Viking Stadium.
No. I'm trying to. Oh God, this is the other reason why I deleted the comments or got rid of my comments on YouTube because it does this to my head. Faith in
if
humanity.
Only we could turn like the act of sciencing into some sort of multi-billion-dollar industry. I'm really hopeful because, with like Twitch streaming, the programmer streaming thing is sort of catching on a little bit, but things like battle bots have cropped up, and I don't think there's any class of programmer out there that, like, imagine a version of battle bots, but with programmers writing software. And I don't think there's any version of that out there where that anybody would find that interesting. But it is, like, for programmers like Notch, like the 0.01% of programmers, it is kind of interesting to watch them stream. So maybe that'll be a thing. Maybe we can turn science into a competitive sport or a multi-billion-dollar industry like, Monday Night Football or whatever. I'm just
I think
totally dreaming.
I think some of our audience would watch it, and I think that's pretty much it.
Sunday. This mathematician is going to attempt to prove the Poincare conjecture.
As fast as possible with explosions. There has to be explosions and maybe some nudity. With nudity? Yes. Let's. You know what? I think this next article may have the solution, and we need to have a little talk about this right now. So, this is just a conjecture piece in the Washington Post. It's a what if, and normally what ifs are not that entertaining to entertain, but we're gonna talk about this. So let's say in the near future that they're able to genetically modify babies when they're either while they're in some stage of being in the womb, or genetically modify them, something to make them much smarter when they're born. Let's say that that's a thing. And right now it's like 80-something% of Americans, 83% of Americans said that it's not appropriate. So they're looking at it from, it's largely a moral thing with a lot of people. It's not a scientific thing. They're worried about one baby's going to be born with his head upside down, and then that's going to be the only thing the news is going to talk about at all. People have I think they have a somewhat small perspective on this. Each life is precious, right? That's what people say. I kind of have more of a Vulcan view on this. The good of the many outweighs the good of the many outweighs the good of the few. So just say, okay, we are able to do this. Genetically modified kids, make them smarter. That sounds like a very good self-preservation method as a species. if we can do this without, I mean, in the article, the other point they bring up is like, this would have to be something that can be done 100% guaranteed to be okay. After you're going to have some tests where a baby has his head upside down. So that's going to have to happen. It's going to be sad and all that. So here's the thing. 83% of Americans said it's not appropriate. The next thing the article mentions is, okay, well, what if some other country, let's say China, I also want to say Russia or someone, but China is probably the most likely. China, Japan, Korea, somewhere, something like that. They're already smarter than us by about 4 or 5 IQ points on average as a whole. And, if they decide, yeah, sure, let's genetically modify all our babies and make them have, 30 points extra IQ, or at least a minimum like 130 IQ, just adding some more wrinkles to that gray matter, you know what I mean? What if they decide to do that and some other parts of the world decide not to do that? Then what kind of a world are we going to be living in? So let's chew on that for a minute. First off, Wendell, what do you think? What do you personally think about this? Do you think it would be ethical to genetically modify humans just to make them smarter?
See, before I answer that,
Got to step back a bit.
Well, it's like, okay, so like, would China do this? Oh yeah, absolutely. China would absolutely do this. They've already been accused of doing this with Yao Ming, because Yao Ming's mother and father were some insanely tall Chinese people, and I've read, I don't know how true this is. I mean, I don't know how you can really prove this, but that Yao Ming's parents were the state basically saying, these people are really tall. They should probably get married and have a kid. Okay, sounds good. And then now we have Yao Ming. Now, that's not genetic manipulation. That's not like human experimentation or anything.
Right. It's selective breeding, and that's what a lot of people in America, they call that genetic manipulation, when really it's selective breeding. You can breed a couple things together, and it's still a natural process. It's not us going in there and saying like, hey, let's get some DNA from a rat and maybe some DNA from this sea anemone, and let's put them into this baby, and look what we made. Potato salad, whatever.
So if I can borrow from George Carlin for a second. So imagine how dumb the average person is. And now imagine that half the population is dumber than that. So suppose there's, like, on that premise, suppose there's a test. You're 3 weeks pregnant or whatever, and there's a test. You do the test, and the test says that there's a very likely chance that your child is going to have below average intelligence. Would it be okay in that scenario? I mean, clearly for genetic defects and other things, for things that we have corrective actions that we can take at various stages in pregnancy and just after birth, we do. And it's second thought is not given to it. And if a test comes about that is, there's your child is going to be mentally handicapped, and where that line is going to move closer and closer and closer to average until finally it's like, well, we're going to do this and hope for the best. I don't think it's really about making baby geniuses. I think that on average, it's just going to make people a little bit smarter. I don't think it's going to make them, it's like you take the serum and then all of a sudden you're, sort of genius level intelligence. I don't think that's how it will actually come about, because there are ethical considerations for doing things that are not necessary. But the technology that does this will come about and will improve from the actual clinical medical need for this kind of technology.
I guess that okay, but I'm gonna take a stance on this. If as long as we can do this without killing gazillions of people, as long as it's like as long as the problem children are like 0.0001%, I'm actually for this. But I also agree with you. I think it's going to be a very slight thing, but then I wonder what's going to come next, because each generation get slightly smarter, because each generation will have the opportunity to also be genetically modified. And then here's another angle to this. Okay, let's say China says yes, US says no. China starts doing it. They start making the baby smarter through genetics, through breeding, through everything they can. They just start making smarter babies. And there's means to do that. Well, suddenly, guess what? All the rich people, they're all going to have really smart babies, because they're going to be rich enough to go over there and make sure that their babies are smarter. They can fly around the world. They can go somewhere where it is legal. They can have stuff done. I mean, back when abortion was illegal in the USA, a lot of the wealthy families would fly their children to other countries to make sure that they had an abortion. And the same thing is going to happen in this instance. They'll be flying to other countries to make sure that their kids are smarter. And then we're going to have the same problem we already have currently in America. Most of the problems that everyone talks about, like, low income areas and that sort of thing, it all is education and also who you know. But the smart people, they get into really smart universities, and then when they are there at these smart, boarding schools and high schools and universities, they develop the friendships that are going to keep them connected to the elite class for the rest of their lives. This is going to take that a step further, where now they're super geniuses. They're all together in a room. They're the ones who are controlling most of the money. They are controlling the schools. They are getting all the good educations. And then they're making the money that puts it back into the system. And then the people with, out the money in the first place continue to get, poorer and continue to, wow, I'm painting a terrible picture. It's bleak. I think that it's going to make the classes even more separate. If it's not if it has to be all or nothing, if it's not all or nothing, rich people are going to have it. Poor people are going to be stupid. And then they're going to make more reality shows. I want everyone to have it, and I want reality shows to go away. That's all. That's bottom line.
It's with our sort of Western view and our Western ideals, it's really hard to know exactly what other societies are going to do and which ones will win out in the end. I mean, we could accidentally create a race of super intelligent people that are also insanely depressed because they're so cognizant of all the things that are happening around them. I mean, there have been some psychological studies that sort of correlate depression and mental problems with people that are smart. And
ignorance is bliss,
Yeah, ignorance really is bliss. And so, it's to presume that this would have any sort of positive effect on evolution. It's probably not. I mean, we could end up creating a giant mess. It could backfire horribly.
Like we talked about last week, we had those that sort of EEG machine that you could put on your head. It sends brainwaves into your head. It sends brainwaves. It sends frequencies into your head, and then your brain is happy. And so now we're going to have a bunch of uber smart people who are addicted to EEG devices that make them feel better. That's what's going to happen. They're going to wander around all day going like, oh yeah, that feels good. And then some guy on the street's going to grab it and run, and they're going to be like, no. And then all of a sudden the world is going to come crashing down around them, and everything's going to look bleak, and they'll kill themselves. Someone write this as a movie, or maybe I should. I don't have time. That takes us to Deus Ex. I think it's a really good time to go straight to Deus Ex. It's been, years and years since this came out. Whether it's 15, 16 years. If you guys are interested, I know we have some Deus Ex fans in the audience. I'm talking about, when I say Deus Ex, always. Whenever I say Deus Ex, I'm talking about the first one. That's the only game that should bear that name. The other ones are decent. I even thought part 2 was okay, but this is the one. Anyway, you guys should go check out this video of Warren Spector and a few of he's the main guy, but a few of the other developers playing the original Deus Ex. Just came out a few days ago. So if you guys go check it out. I thought it was interesting to watch, just them talking about it and stuff. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. Last news. Okay, so the concept development on a new Duke Nukem game is done. How about that? This one, the last one was Duke Nukem Forever. This one's just going to be called Duke Nukem Never. It's never going to come out. And yeah. And if it does come out, it's just going to be filled with the same sort of try-hardy bathroom humor that the last one had. That was not... I mean, the first one had some pretty coarse and vulgar and ridiculous humor. But it was on that like, hey, this game is so bad, or the dialogue is so bad that it's actually good. And the other one was just like, this is just bad. Duke Nukem Forever was just bad. Anyway, yeah. I wonder who's going to be making that game. They're looking for a developer right now because, they don't have a developer. They were going to use Gearbox, but now that they want to basically give the design documents or the concept to a different studio out there and then see what they can come up with. And then we'll have it delayed 45 times. It was like 9 years in development. So we'll expect to see this around 2021.
The translation of that is we were going to give it to Gearbox, but then Gearbox took a look at our concept and ran away screaming in the other direction. So, let's open the floor.
Yeah. So expect a very terrible game somewhere around the same time as we finish the lunar community. That's when we'll have it.
Sometime around the time we finish the lunar base from earlier in the show.
Yeah, that's about when you can expect the game. And yeah. All right, so everyone, I don't have my comments turned on anymore, so I can't see what you guys are saying down there on YouTube. I'm sorry, but my quality of life has gone through the roof. It's wonderful. It's wonderfulness. You guys can still catch me on the website. I'm going to be hanging out in the lounge a lot more. There was a lot of drama. I'll address the drama before we leave. There's a lot of drama this week, and I feel like a lot of people who are being the most dramatic and screaming the loudest that things suck were the ones creating the drama and creating the suck. So we tried to cull a bit of that and get rid of some people. And I've been talking to some guys. I'm like, guys, just calm down a little bit. I understand that you guys are passionate about whatever the hell you're passionate about, but listen, there's people getting shot by drones in other countries. In this country, there's terrible things. There's terrible things happening in the world. There's evil corporations and governments, and you guys are yelling and screaming on the internet because someone slightly insulted your intelligence. Let's just grow up and have a nice, happy community because we're all in this together. We're all nerds. We all have common interests. That's how we found each other here. Everyone on the website, you guys would not be there if you had not come together because you have some common interest. So find that. Have fun with it. Maybe put some of that angst and some of that, energy that you obviously have to good use. Let's work on some projects. Someone hop on the forum and propose some projects. I know there's some developers on there. I know there's coders on there. I know there's people on there who are good at video games. So I'm encouraging you guys to do the right thing.
Meanwhile, the trolls are going to use the opportunity to create a shit post that doesn't actually address anything and is mainly just complaining.
Ban. Perma ban. IP ban.
I wanted to have a conversation about this in which I complain about everything and offer no solutions.
You just show up and be like, this place sucks. Everybody, peace, I'm out. And then this guy looks like a martyr right now because he like... Yeah,
I don't even
it's
care.
Not gonna happen. No, drama. I don't care. Drama. I don't care. Just no. I will be hanging out in the lounge a little bit more. Oh, that's the last thing I wanted to ask is the lounge has nearly 70,000 posts. It's one topic with nearly 70,000 posts. So what I'm going to propose, just for the loading times and all that sort of thing, it's a bit bulky and it's also difficult to sift through all that stuff. How about this? We're going to archive this one at the end of the month. And then every month we will have a new lounge that is just that month. If you guys want to access something from the old lounge, it'll still be there, but it'll be a locked topic in the lounge forum. There'll be like an actual forum for just all the different lounge posts. Each month a new one, and that's it. And that's the place where you guys can go and joke around and goof off and off subject, link a video, have a conversation, and it's somewhere between. It's not quite a chat room, but it's almost a chat room. Because the forum platform that we have is extremely fast and it updates live. So you guys can sit there in the lounge and just, whatever. I'm also going to jump in the lounge and just give you guys maybe just try to bring you guys more on the inside. I probably should do that, but I don't know. I've always had this mentality where if you tell everyone what you're doing and you do that too often, you're going to lose the motivation to do it. And I think there's been some studies that say this. So I usually don't clue everyone in on everything we're doing because I don't want to receive the gratification until it's actually done. So I'll give you guys some ideas of, hey, we've got a few things, and we've got this new motherboard in. We've got, hey, I'm doing benchmarks on this motherboard right here. So stuff that's obvious, but big projects, I'll let you guys know about them as they are nearing completion and that sort of thing. But I'll jump in there and be more active. So I'll be in there too. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think of having a new lounge every month. I think it'll be easier. We're probably going to do it unless you guys freak out in the comments and say, please don't do this, and you give me a good reason not to do it, but I think it's the direction we're going. Yeah, and there's some new updates to the main website as far as making it more unified and streamlined as well. That'll be coming pretty soon. Your team's working on that, right, Wendell?
Yep, should be good.
Yeah, should be good. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys so much for supporting epicpants.com, and hope you guys enjoy the merchandise. We always go out and try to get the highest quality possible for you guys. It's not about the cheapest price, but I also try to keep the price about the same as like the lesser quality stuff you'll find on the internet. So I try to keep it about the same. Our margins are not extreme, so enjoy the merchandise and know that that's probably the best thing you guys can do if you want to support. Grab a t-shirt, something. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the comments on the website.
I saw somebody that was like, why are you always looking at stuff on the ceiling? It's like, bitch, please, I've got 2 rows of monitors. I'm not looking at the ceiling. I'm looking at another set of monitors.
And now we need another shirt with your face that says "bitch, please." People, you guys would buy it, right? I mean, I would buy it if I didn't own the store and get the stuff for cost. I would buy it for not cost.
I don't think that's a very good shirt. I can come up with something far more clever than that.